Today, we are going to be discussing YouTube analytics for beginners. We're going to try and take you through everything that we can possibly think of so that you don't waste your time focusing on analytics that don't matter, and you can spend more time focusing on analytics that do matter and hopefully understanding them a little bit better after today's video. So let's welcome in Rob. Hello.
Yo, what a
Yo.
beautiful intro that was. Perfect, Dan. Chef's kiss.
Thanks.
Love it. That is going to make sure that our audience retention for the first 30 seconds, quite an important metric.
Yes.
Was 100%.
We can dive into that first. Why did I do an intro like that? If you're watching live, you're like, what's happening? It's because our last stream, we did something interesting. And this is where we're going to start our metrics journey today.
All right. Okay. Interesting.
Because this is a live stream for those of you watching after the fact, but we want to make it accessible for those of you watching after the fact. And one of the ways we did that was last week when we did this very same live stream, we talked about, YouTube hacks you should use. And we put this awesome thumbnail on it. And this live stream is performing better than any live stream we've done since February. And we are talking specifically about VOD views here, the views after it was live. If you just look here real quick, and this is a metric that I track before even clicking analytics, I love to look at the view column. And you can see 13,000, almost 14,000 views. What did our previous stream get in the same category? 9,164. What about the one before that? 10,581. Before that, we were doing channel audits, 10,000. Channel audits got really stale at 10 to 11,000 views. The older they get, they go up a little bit. But it took me scrolling all the way back to February to find a video that matched this view count. And this video has not been out for very long.
Interesting.
So that tells me a lot right there.
Yeah, and I think another interesting thing, Dan, is if you go to the analytics again, if you scroll all the way down, hopefully it still has this information available to us. Oh, it doesn't. So the stream itself was like an hour and 10 minutes long, wasn't it? But what we did is we edited out the first half an hour so that it was just the core of the content that you see from the thumbnail. And the average view duration is 5 minutes, which, for us isn't terrible for a 30-minute video. And if you scroll up to the top again, hours watched, I can safely say that the hours watched is in excess of any other live stream that we did on channel audits, because channel audits are very much a community-led. They're in the moment. You have to be there to get the full benefit from it. Whereas we're trying to experiment with longer evergreen content.
So for this experiment, for more evergreen live streams, the focus was, what if we can get more watch time and views on a stream after it was over? So this is why I'm starting here with the analytics, because when it comes to YouTube analytics, sometimes what you're focused on changes depending on what your goals are. I mentioned goals a little bit earlier. So, not for the VOD viewers, sorry. In the previous conversation we deleted, I mentioned goals earlier. And this is, our goal was, what can we do to make live streams potentially go viral? And one of the other ways we knew this was something we could focus on was if we go to our actual channel here, we did something kind of fun. We went to our live tab and we hit popular to find 154,000 views on a 2-year-old live stream. And to this day, this still brings in new viewers for us. Why? Well, it wasn't just auditing your channel. It was literally get views by avoiding these mistakes on YouTube. And it wasn't just the title and the thumbnail, which were good for their time. We had a guest on, Nolan, who did a fantastic job, and it was a really solid conversation. But the whole 2 hours was just packed full of value, and that is key here. You still want to make good content. You need a good title and thumbnail, of course, but the content itself also needs to have that value. And it was the perfect recipe. 154,000 views on a live stream that got the similar viewership. Look, if you're watching live, we have about 300 concurrent viewers right now. That's about what this did. It was in the same realm. And later on, boom, exploded. And so now we're literally using YouTube analytics to have a more intentional test of like what a live stream could become when it's no longer live. So watch time and views tell us a lot. What we're not worried about in the case of live streams, the subscriber tab, 8 subscribers. That's cool. I mean, thank you to the 8 people. Typically, though, you lose subscribers when you go live.
When you go live, and I think it's because notifications are a lot more aggressive for live streams. Because again, there's an importance on immediacy, you being there for the live stream. So with a video on demand, you may get a notification 6, 12 hours after it was published sometimes. But with a live stream, it's going to tell you there and then. And I think a lot of people are just going to see this maybe when they're at work or like they're busy and they see a notification for something that I can't join this now. I'm never going to be able to join it. That notification bugs me. I'm unsubscribing. And
Yeah.
you just have to accept that if you are a dual creator, like when you do VODs and live streams, that always happens.
Yeah. It's probably for the best if those folks didn't want to watch your content anyway. Now you have a more accurate subscriber count, so I wouldn't worry about this. This is an analytic you should probably never worry about, but I know all of us here want more subscribers. But in the case of live streams especially, if you lose some, don't worry about it. Like, that's probably healthy. And then we're also not worried about estimated revenue. But that's just us. This can come in from super chats, it can come from all kinds of stuff. And if you are focused on revenue, then if you could offer memberships, you could do all kinds of stuff to raise this metric. We're not going to really talk about this much today. Let's talk about some other tabs though for a video. We will go to the zoomed out analytics in a bit. But I want to just stay on the video realm for a bit.
Dad, do you want to do this for a live stream, or is it maybe better to do it like for a video on demand?
Probably an actual video.
Yeah.
So let's go to the videos tab. And is there one in particular that would be like a good?
I mean, the 9-minute algorithm one is like one that's, I think it was a 1 of 10. So like maybe that's a good one to look at for a video that's performing well.
Mm-hmm. So this is a very recent video and a 1 of 10. This is always a fun thing to see in your analytics, that 1 of 10 fireworks. And it's called the 9-minute algorithm hack to hit 1,000 views or subscribers fast. And look at that. It's almost got 1,000 subscribers itself. That's pretty fun. 64,000 views. The first thing I look at, and Rob, feel free to interject. I think everyone looks at analytics a little bit differently. But for me, when I see green arrows on views and watch time in any sense, I already know something is awesome. Like, I'm going to investigate further, but this is always a really exciting thing to see.
And you're really only going to see those green arrows when the video is far in excess of what Dan loves to. And I've adopted this phrase, the cone of shame.
Yes, this is the cone of shame, the gray part down here.
This, I think YouTube introduced this 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think it came in with a new creator studio. I think it was maybe a year or two afterwards, but it shows you the typical. And it's a good indicator as well of how your video should be performing in the first 24 hours, but also over a longer period of time, because some creators have very different intents with their content. Some people just want to get all of the views in the first few days because it's time sensitive, whereas other creators may launch their video and not pay attention on day one because they know it's not going to perform, but they're interested in the month one, year one analytics. So yeah, if you're trying to avoid getting bogged down in the numbers, it may sound overly simplistic, but it's a way to just kind of have a light touch on analytics. It's looking for the green arrows and lines above typical lines, if that makes any sense, especially in this illustration.
Yeah, and there's a number of reasons why this one could have gotten 2,000 more watch hours, 26,000 more views than usual. One of those reasons is, of course, going to be the retention graph. And this has another cone of shame as well, with its typical versus your other content. It's always versus your content, by the way. YouTube does a good thing here where it compares your videos to your other videos. It's not comparing this to other people's channels or anything like that. This is literally your channel and your past videos being measured here. So first 30 seconds, you can see we're pretty much in the typical, just above it. It's hard to see, but you could see a little bit of gray down here and the blue lines hovering up on top of it. So our first 30 seconds were strong, I would say, in this video. We still had 68% of our viewers after the first 30 seconds. You can also see parts where it dips. And we like to look at this and go, okay, why such a drop? And it comes right back up. So people were skipping something. You almost might think this is like an ad break. And Rob could have promoted a vidIQ tool right here. And people might have felt like an ad was starting. We'd have to watch the video to see. And when you watch the video in here, this player will track, see that red line? That's exactly where I'm at in the video. So we can kind of toggle ahead to that point where it dips. I don't have audio on, so we can't actually listen to what happens. But you'll notice where I'm about to get to is a chapter skip. So people were probably watching through this chapter and thought, oh, I'm at the end of the chapter. Feels like I'm not getting anything new. And they didn't leave the video. They just skipped ahead. And that's good. that it, you know, they're engaged at that point. This is one nice thing about chapters. You can also see the chapters represented by the dotted line right here.
Now, Dan, I do want to interject here and add a cautionary context, because if you scroll back up to the top again, what do we see here? A video that's outperforming typical. So what does that mean? It's going to be shared with a wider, broader, potentially new audience.
Mhm.
And what typically happens is that when YouTube tests your content with wider audiences, because they're unfamiliar with you, we were talking earlier about, whether you want to see view counts on thumbnails and stuff, and like you're encountering a new creator for the first time, you're a little more hesitant and you're a little more cautious with the time you spend with this new video. So again, if you scroll, the fact that this graph here is very positive, if you scroll down again, Dan, to suggest that this graph is kind of in the medium might not actually be accurate, because there are probably new viewers who are less invested, leaving the video early, and so it's dragging down the numbers a little bit. But that's fine. That's not a problem. It's very similar to click-through rate. And so maybe if we're going to reach here, Dan, we might be able to demo this a little bit, hopefully. What I would like you to do is, if you can sort by first 24 hours in the time graph. Oh, come on, YouTube. Don't let us down.
Maybe it's too new
Really?
for that. It might be too new.
Really? I would have thought, no, it shouldn't do. Just refresh the entire thing. Oh, that's why. All right, Dan's going to have to stop sharing to fix that. So, Dan, if you can do that in the background, hopefully, and bring it back up. What I'm hopefully going to demonstrate here, fingers crossed, is that in the first 24 hours, as that video was performing better than typical, YouTube probably did something with the impressions. It probably started sharing it with a wider audience. Now, usually, if I get my hand right, it's this one. So impressions will go up like that in the first 24 hours. It'll start to level off. But I'm suspecting what might have happened is it was going up, and then it may have chinked a little bit and continued to increase more than typical, because YouTube's getting some positive signals here from the video. So hopefully we can see. So these are the first 24 hours. Yeah. So what I know from experience is that we tend to get between 250 to 350,000 impressions typically. I wish YouTube would do a typical for this, because this would like really show you discovery potential. That would be fascinating. And I can tell you for certain, certainly after the first 4 hours, can you see there was almost like a little inflection point? It increased a little bit more. That's very untypical. Like, let's just find another video, Dan. Like, maybe find one that didn't perform as well. So if we go to
this one,
which video gets more views? Yeah, let's try that one. We know this one didn't perform as well.
Yours are typical.
It's performing under typical. So go to reach, go to the impressions, and you can see how, again, first 24 hours. Don't forget. Let's start by first 24 hours. You should see that kind of flattened off relatively quicker and far less impressions. So like, it just had so less opportunity to be clicked on. And that's why you got to be really careful with click-through rate, because I've got 3 times as many impressions on this video, and the click-through rate is almost identical. I think it was 4.9 versus 5.3%. Again, you'd have to sort by first 24 hours. I'll keep forgetting that. So yeah, the click-through rate was higher significantly as well, actually. So I know we're getting into a bit of a weeds here, and that's what you want to be really careful of, but we're trying to explain that the top level information that we've seen with the graphs there about how it can get, how it can bury into impressions and click-through rate and impact the minutiae. But then you got to be really careful about like context and how the video is performing versus your intent with the audience.
The one thing to note too is, so we were at 9.5% in the first hour. Your click-through rate will be and should be higher at the beginning, because a lot of your most loyal viewers are watching and they're more forgiving of your thumbnails or your title or whatever. They're just locked in and they want the information that you have and they trust you. So click-through rate should always go down based on that alone, but then the longer your video is up and the more it spreads, the more it's gonna go down because YouTube is testing it with a larger and larger audience. So never worry too much when your click-through rate starts to dwindle away. You may still see, because ours did here for this very successful video. This was the first 24 hours still. It didn't, at the end of the day, it did not have that much of a difference. This is like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. We're kind of leveling off right now, and this video could continue to spread, and then the click rate could continue to drop. You don't want to get too wrapped up in this.
Yeah, it often feels like YouTube trying normalizes click-through rate versus impressions. So I'm seeing this comment here from Koifish saying that 5.7% click-through rate with almost 500,000 impressions is an amazing performance. Is that accurate though? Because there may be some niches, some genres, some channels where that is a terrible performance.
Yeah.
Like they might be expecting 10, 15% because it's just the nature of the competition and how your audience reacts to it.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody walking away from this conversation thinking, right, I must have a click-through rate of 5.7% after 24 hours because that's what vidIQ told me.
Right.
That's not true.
There is not one number you can apply to this. Another thing, now this is a short, so we're not going to see the click-through rate represented on here, but I'm pulling it up just so you know. Like, this is a 2 of 10 short. If it was a regular video, not a short, it would have a click-through rate measure here as well, and it would tell you with a little arrow pointing up or down whether or not it's within the range. And in the first few hours of your content, if you're seeing the click-through rate drop, that's when I would maybe think, oh, title, thumbnail, should I change something? Because now your most loyal audience isn't clicking on it. And that's when I pay attention the most. I don't know about everybody else, but that's me. This little box here on your dashboard can be a good indicator. If you're ready with another title idea, sometimes this is the way to change it, because your click-through rate is just bombing, and you're like, why? Like, the video uploaded an hour ago. Why is it so bad? Maybe I should try that different title I was thinking about. Maybe I should try the different thumbnail I was thinking about.
Let's sidebar here for just a moment then, Dan, and talk about what is the equivalent metric for shorts. And I would say, I'm not sure if the metric will be available yet, but let's try. Go to analytics. If you're trying to find out and benchmark a good number for like interest in your shorts, click on Reach Dam. You probably want to be starting here, which is how many chose to view. So this is the what do we call it? Swiped versus swipe away, or viewed versus swipe away. Now, at the moment, that's an incredible metric for us. Like, I've never seen something as high as 89%.
Very high.
But it's very, very early days, right? A lot of people are interested in average view duration when it comes to shorts, and that goal of trying to get more than 100% average view duration. But I've had a bit of a kicking when in regards to that recently. So again, just to indulge me for a little bit longer, Dan, if you go to our content screen, so if you back out a couple of times, go to content and then shorts, and then scroll down until we see one of the YouTube advice ones. These are all scheduled, so
oh wow,
you get an exclusive look here at how many shorts we've scheduled, right? So if we find advice for YouTube, is that one with 5,000 views, right? Click there and then scroll down. It has 126% audience view duration, which seems unbelievable and fantastic, right? But it is a shorter short. It's only 15 seconds long.
Yeah.
Right. If you scroll up, this is actually one of my better performing advice for YouTubers. A lot of them have been well under the graph. If we go to reach and we'll look at the view to swipe ratio, this one's at 70%. So it is lower. And also, you've got to think about the just the total addressable market, especially when it comes to shorts. And advice for YouTubers, for me, feels like it's a bit too niche. It's a bit, it doesn't really fit our target audience on shorts, which seems to be search-based content. And this kind of motivational, inspirational stuff, while it is working with our core audience, it's just not having any traction. So I'm sunsetting this series after the ones that I've scheduled come to an end.
For those asking how long until it counts as viewed, We don't really know. YouTube won't
Yeah.
tell us that information, but
Mm,
we believe it's a percentage because
I think it's a percentage. Yeah.
every short is between 1 and 60 seconds. So they can't make it a certain amount of seconds, right? It's probably a percentage of the short, but that's just my theory. It could
Let
literally just be first 3 seconds. We don't know.
as an example, let's say it was 10 seconds. So like for a 10%. So let's say for a 30-second short, they would need to watch at least 3 seconds for it to count as a view. But if it was a 60-second short, they need to watch at least 6 seconds for it to count as a view. But we are hypothesizing here.
Yes, we don't
We
know.
don't know if that's true or not.
They won't tell us. There's obviously we're scratching the surface with a lot of this stuff.
Definitely.
We will answer some questions in a bit, but yeah, I wanted to go back to one of the videos we were looking at because there's still a lot we can learn.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think we talked about this a lot when the metric came out, but it's still just as relevant today. You want your videos spreading to new people. You also want your videos over time to build up a returning viewership as well. And
Mm,
not only does your channel track this analytic, but each video will track what kind of audience it's bringing in. And of course, the older this data gets, the more valuable it becomes. But returning viewers on this video were 41,600. So we know it has 64,000 views. That's a massive chunk of people who've already seen us, but you can see that it still brought in new viewers. Over time, as this video continues to age, it will likely start to bring in more new viewers than old viewers if it's one of those that is spreading to a lot of people. So it's just good to know, like if you ever want that information, it's right here at your fingertips, and you can know if your goal is I want a big audience of returning viewers, then you can start to figure out how to do that. If you and why would you want that? I think if you were a channel that was doing community kind of driven content, maybe you're doing a let's play series in a game or something, you're going to get a lot of returning viewers from that. If you're someone who wants or has a lot of new viewers, why is that happening? It could be because you're doing search based content that answers a specific problem at a specific time, and so people aren't returning because you answered their question once and they never came back. But your new viewer metric could still be healthy, and it could still be an indicator that you are doing something right because a search based channel is going to have that. If you ever forget what these mean, there is a thing that tells you. Maybe it's just on the main channel page in analytics, audience, and this I do want to look at this for the whole channel too. This is like really awesome. Chart guide. So it's telling you here what happens when one line is way over the other. You know, so there's a guide here if you ever forget what this means. Purple over blue, blue over purple. I've always said I like the symbiosis of these two lines hitting each other as often as possible.
yeah, like a DNA strand.
Yeah. But I do worry that if you're trying to grow your channel, like what would we do? Like if let's say we wanted to double our subscriber size and viewership, this is not going to do it. We need both of these lines to start tracking upwards. They need to start pointing to the sky so we know we're doing something right. Right now, we're very consistent. You know, we're getting new viewers, we're getting returning viewers, but then some of our returning viewers are probably not coming back, which is why that line is not going up in a particular direction. New viewers, some of our videos hit and that line pops back up, but it never, there's like a barrier here for both of these lines. And I do think that it is something to consider. Like there might be a time where we prioritize new viewers for a bit because we want to grow the channel big and strong. And if we want a chance at some new people finding it and then returning, we have to try some new things. We have to do something to get that blue line to go up. And that could be something we chase in the future. And then that changes what this graph looks like. Hopefully, if we're doing it right, it changes our goals. So this is cool to see. This is very consistent and awesome. But it could also be things that we see and we're like, I feel like this could improve too.
Can you go to the last 365 days, Dan? I'm hoping, because this data can be unreliable.
True.
Sometimes it does. So yeah, there we are. So you can see there's that one spike there all the way back in November. Can you remember what that was?
I can't. I know we can look, but I can't remember.
It was the Sam Sulik video that John did,
where
we jumped on a trend and we were very curious about his rise in popularity. And John did it like an excellent mini documentary on it, not only 5-6 minutes long, but it was brilliant. And that brought in a huge audience. And then also you see as well, the returning viewers seem to spike as well. So it looked as if the audience was coming in for Sam Sulik and then they were checking out our other stuff. And maybe they were thinking, all right, the Sam Sulik thing was cool, but I'm not actually a creator. I was just interested in the rise of Sam Sulek, but I'm not. I don't
Yes.
want to know how to get 1,000 subscribers. So that's the danger, isn't it? Where like you're experimenting with different ideas, you go viral with something, and then the audience's expectation is, "I want more of this." And for us, it was like, well, that kind of wasn't really what we were trying to do. We can't. What is a best phrase, like we were victims of our own success there. We had something successful, but it wasn't necessarily in our core wheelhouse. So just be aware of things you do on your channel determines what audience comes in, and then what do you do with that audience if they actually arrive.
Right. So to read into this, what Rob's basically saying here is that boom, we brought in a lot of new viewers on this particular day. It continued as well. The video aged well. And we brought back some returning viewers. Some people were like, "Oh, that's cool," you know. So there wasn't a crossover, an interest in our audience that watches YouTube education videos and our audience that enjoys a good story, because that's really what the video we're talking about was. It's a solid story about a creator's rise, and education interest folks could learn from it, and story people just like a good story could enjoy it, even if they're not YouTube channel hosts themselves, owners themselves. So we did not follow up on that too much. And you do see the returning viewers line and the new viewers line start to settle back down to pre-Sam Sulek numbers. And what we could have done is we could have said, this is the moment where vidIQ pivots away from doing YouTube education, and we could pivot into YouTube stories and things like that. But we weren't trying, we were just testing something. We were just trying something new. And you can see it didn't hurt the channel in the long term. We're here, we're fine. But it is that what if kind of moment. And if our goals had been different at that time, maybe this graph would look a lot different, because we would have maybe kept telling stories about more creators. They might have continued to pop off. You know, if our timing was good and our storytelling was good, that this could have changed the trajectory of our entire channel, that one moment. So this is a lot of lessons here. Don't be afraid to try things. Understand the consequences of trying things.
I think the reason we're lingering on this screen a little bit, Dan, is because it makes the subscriber count somewhat irrelevant and redundant today. Because you can see our subscriber count in the top there, which is like 1.96 million. Woo, we're almost going to get 2 million subscribers. Brilliant. But how many of those are actually engaged in our content today? This is a graph that tells you more nuanced and with more complexity, but it does give you an indication of channel health over the long term.
This tab is very powerful. This is probably, other than the overview tab, which just gives you that nice overview of your analytics, this is probably the one I spend the most time in, because it really speaks to, as a channel in a niche, who we're catering to, how we're catering to them. Now, again, all the videos have these similar tabs, so you can look at an individual video and see people who watch this video also watch this. But you can do this for your entire channel with channels your audience watches. And if you are in the YouTube growth space like we are, we're pretty happy with the channels that are here, because it means we're doing something right. We are competing with the names that we want to see in here. But if some interesting different channels were to show up, and I think this looked a lot different back in the Sam Sulek days, we were starting to show up next to other channels that we normally wouldn't show up to next to because of these successes. So if you're like, am I in the right place? Am I catering to the right niche? This could be one indicator of that. Channels. And then even there's even videos. You could see the videos your audience has watched recently in the last 7 days, the shorts they're watching, and now there's a podcast tab, which is pretty cool as well. All kinds of stuff. When your viewers are live, this is kind of this could indicate posting schedule for you. You also determine this, in my opinion. I've always said this, like the bright purple is when our audience is online. We happen to upload around this time anyway.
We do. So that's why we're live now, isn't it?
Right. So it's kind of this weird push and pull. Like if you started posting down here, suddenly over time, I think these bright purple lines would move down because you are changing your posting schedule. So you can influence this. That's why you have to be careful with posting times, because you are influencing that, right? Just keep that in mind. I'm just going to kind of hit some of these, just boom, 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 boom. Subscriber bell notifications. This is kind of cool. This is why sometimes you hear people say, hit the bell. They want this. Their goal is to get this number up. They want people's phones popping off when they upload. We don't ask people to do that, but some people have hit the bell anyway. That's kind of cool. Formats your viewers watch. This is also something you can determine based on how much different content you make. We do more shorts and videos than we do live streams, and that makes sense. People, are still watching our streams, just not as much as our videos and shorts. That tracks. Top geographies. This might determine for us if we should maybe start dubbing our content in another language. That could be one determination.
We were speaking about that just before we went live.
Yeah. There's a lot you can learn. Like, you could start to look at content that competes in that other region and go, oh, are there any like video ideas I could glean from what other creators in India are doing in the YouTube growth space? So this could be really interesting. The split between the genders and ages and things like that. All this stuff may or may not serve a purpose. This is why it's so overwhelming. It's good to know what to focus on, but you get to determine what to focus on. You might change your content completely if you're like, wow, I have way more of a male audience than a female audience. What can I do about that? Well, then suddenly you might be making some content changes because you want to even that out more. But if you want to, why would you want to do that? I don't know. There might be plenty of reasons. It could be for sponsorship opportunities or whatever. But all this stuff is here at your disposal. You don't have to pay attention to every little thing, is my point.
I have one more. It's not a hack because it's in the YouTube studio, but it is, I think, an underused tool. If you really want to jump into the numbers for a lot of videos at the same time, and a lot of people miss this because it's quite a hidden tool. So Dan, if you go back to analytics and go to see more or advanced mode, whichever one takes your fancy, then click on compare to in the top right hand corner, the button. And then I'll have to wait for a second while it loads up.
We have a lot of stuff.
Come on. First 24 hours video performance. If you really want to jump into some nerdy stuff about all the videos that you've recently published, it gives you this list view of how your videos performed in the first 24 hours. So you can see, and it highlights the best ones and the worst ones. So you can see at the top, there's these dots, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are all the videos that perform really well. If you leave your mouse over one, Dan, it shows you the video as well. So like, it can give you a snapshot of like, this video, this series of my last, I think it's the last 30 videos or something. It's an incredible number. This plot graph can help you make some top tier decisions through the graph. But then if you really want to go into the numbers, you can sort all of these labels here. Like you can sort by which got the most number of impressions over the first 24 hours. That might be interesting. You can also add all sorts of metrics as well amongst the ones that you can see here. So yeah, many people just aren't aware of this because I think YouTube just launched it a couple of years ago and haven't spoke about it since. But something to just have a peek at if you're really into the detail of analytics. Yeah. If you're not bothered, don't go near it because it might be a little too intimidating for you.
I would think of this as advanced mode, and we could do a whole separate 2 hours on this if we wanted to. For example, one thing you can look at, or if you click on this channel icon here, it opens up. Oh, it opens up the channel now. No, it's this search icon. Sorry. There's groups. We made these groups. These are groups of our videos that were. So if you have a few different series, you could group them together and then you can compare them side by side. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do in the advanced mode analytics, but that is, again, a giant live stream and we want to keep this for beginners. So that is our quick and dirty overview of the YouTube analytics. We've obviously only scratched the surface, and I know we're running out of time, but I do want to stick around for a little bit and answer some questions, Rob.
Shall we do that? Just yeah, go on. Let's show people that this our lifetime analytics. Why not? Go on.
I was saying answer questions. You want? Oh wait. Oh, see. So
yeah, just do this. I guess I'm nostalgic about this because I've been here since the beginning. Well,
you just want me to do this, right?
Yeah. Let's do this. It's going to take a couple of minutes to load, but yeah. So I joined vidIQ. I started making videos for vidIQ in the middle of 2016. So that's why it's a complete flat line until you just start seeing these little chinks. Yep. And then I became more involved at the end of 2017. And as you can see, those numbers are still dwarfed by what we've done subsequently. And you're wondering maybe what are all of those big spikes? What are all of those massive numbers? And that is where we had some viral moments where I was covering the Mr. Beast PewDiePie T-Series subscriber race. And we would have these viral moments for single days. But just like the Sam Sulik one video, the audience didn't stick around because they weren't interested in growing their channels. They were just interested in YouTube culture. So if you look at when the graph started to kind of normalize, but then we were getting, tens of thousands of views a day. That was during lockdown, COVID, but then we were really focused on YouTube education and figuring out how to transition from search-based content to browse-based content, which, as you may or may not be aware of, browse-based content is responsible for 70% of all YouTube views, and search is responsible for the rest. So like we were able to increase our views by going after browse-based viewers rather than search-based viewers. So that is like a mini timeline of the channel. I don't know if you've got any more questions there, Dan, or anyone else.
No, I think it is fun to look at, and it does say, like, when you look at it, actually, the viral moments, people talk about, oh, if you go viral, you could bring in the wrong audience, whatever. But these are the moments that could have helped put the channel on the map too.
Our benchmark afterwards, say maybe we were getting 5,000 views a day, we go viral, and then once it died down, we might be like doing 7,500 views a day. So even though it felt like a massive letdown for the overall health of the channel, we did keep some of our audience. But it was like an emotional roller coaster going, like, I'd be looking at the channel and be getting 40,000 views per hour, and I thought, this is it, we're done, we've made it. And yeah, that would last for about 2 hours, and then we'll be back down to 200 views per hour.
It is fun going viral, but yes, if you can stay consistent and in your lane, if you will, you can definitely benefit off of it. But you have to be accepting of the fact that the number's going to drop like a rock at some point. Pay attention to where it lands. So we have some questions, and we also have some quick shout outs here. We have a member here for 13 months, the Debbie Way Gaming. Thank you.
Nice.
So much. We have a something gaming. But thank you for the super chat there. And then, will my channel hurt if I don't post every week? It takes a lot of time editing, so I don't know if that's killing my channel. No, I don't think so. I think if you are consistent, that helps. But if once a week is making it difficult to make a good video, then do it once every 2 weeks.
You need to establish, King Kai, if the editing, the amount of time and effort you're putting into your editing is making a big and positive impact on how your audience reacts to the content. Because if your audience doesn't care about the quality of the editing, then yes, it could be impacting you, and you should be posting more content more frequently. It's one of those things of how replaceable are you? If viewers can't get your content anywhere else, they're prepared to wait. So if your editing sets you apart, then yeah, take time on producing the best quality editing. But if you do an experiment whereby you spend 3 weeks editing a video, and then you spend a day making a video, and the audience retention is pretty much the same, that might be a lesson to you that either your editing isn't as good as you think it is, or your audience doesn't care about how well edited they are.
Would vertical live streams work better for non-gaming channels? I see gaming streamers do it. I think, would they work better for you and the kind of content you want to make? I think vertical is a more, I'm just going to make an opinion. This is just an opinion I have. Vertical is more volatile than a long form live stream. You might be watching this on the TV right now, and the likelihood of you clicking away because you're kind of settled in watching in front of a TV is a lot less than someone holding their phone with their thumb ready to swipe up. It's so easy to do. And I think you'll introduce yourself to a lot of new viewers, but then you have to understand that those viewers came from the shorts feed and they watch a different type of content, a different type of way. And so what kind of audience do you want to build on your channel would be my question back to you. I don't know if you have anything to add to that. But that's
the one experiment we did was we got a lot more views, but those viewers hung around for a lot less time, and it pretty much evened itself out.
Yeah,
from what I remember.
Tiny Teller's Adventures. Question for you guys: does having your content in the wrong video category affect your content and growth and channel growth?
The problem is that the categories are so ancient at this point that sometimes they barely reflect what your content is about.
Yeah.
So be as accurate as you can, but don't sweat it if you're not 100% accurate, because you'll find that other creators are in exactly the same position as you. YouTube pays a lot more attention to the title and I guess the content itself. And I honestly don't know what categories serve at this point. Maybe it's still something to do with AdSense and categorizing from that point of view. Maybe it's what Dan's showing us here.
This is way
Or
down on the sidebar, but
yeah, but
gaming, I'd say, is the most relevant only because
yeah.
you get to select the game from there. And so we can see everyone who is watching Minecraft videos. There's live streams, a lot of it was basically just live streams. Okay. And then the shorts, there's home. That's where this gets used. But how many people scroll to this? That's the
I mean,
question.
if you're intentionally making the category wrong, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, spend 10 seconds thinking about what it fits best into when you're uploading the video.
Yeah. We are in the how to in style.
So we were in education, Dan, for many, many years, for about 2 years, because there was a new set of labels you could add to education, like if it was university degree and whatever.
Mhm.
And I thought that might make a difference. I don't think it make any difference. So I switched it back to how to and style, I think last week.
Yeah. How to and style is so weird, and it's always been missing a space in between the ampersand and the word style, which I don't know why they did that. It's just a weird way to frame it, and ever since I saw the categories that were available to us, I'm like, this doesn't matter. Like I've just never sweated it at all. But I just showed you, they do live somewhere. It's just not. I wouldn't worry about it.
Same as video tags.
Yeah.
Updated video on that coming soon, by the way. Just scripting now.
Oh, there you go. I'm trying to understand how does YouTube give impressions? I figured this would come up.
The simplest answer is if the audience is responding positively to the video through many, many signals, then YouTube will test that content with broader, wider, new audiences. And beyond that, I think we're all guessing, because we're now talking about, YouTube's algorithms. They like to call it search and discovery systems.
Yeah, that's kind of like the YouTube equivalent of what's the answer to life, It's what we're all trying to figure out. Shorts destroyed my long form algorithm. Solution. How do you know it destroyed your long form algorithm is the question, because I've seen a lot of channels make shorts. I've seen a lot of shorts analytics, and I've never gotten an indicator of whether it had a positive or negative impact in a way that was like detrimental one way or the other. It might make your analytics look funny. Like I showed earlier, you had your shorts and you had the channels that people watch that are similar to yours. I had some shorts on my personal channel take off that were not related to the other content I was making, and I kept doing them. And before I knew it, I was ranking next to channels that I was like not providing enough for. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't want to be associated with these channels. That's the wrong audience. And so when I was posting other shorts, they weren't doing as well. And my theory was that maybe I've catered too many videos to the wrong audience, and I need to separate these two things so I can get back to posting the shorts I actually want to make. And that test was fun and all, but maybe not. So I've seen that happen. I've experienced that, but I don't get how it would destroy your long form algorithm unless you're making content on two totally separate types of content for like two different audiences on the same channel.
Yeah. If you have that perspective that you think your long form algorithm has been destroyed by shorts, then the answer to that perspective is stop making shorts or start a new channel.
Yeah.
If you think that is the bug, I guess, the YouTube bug that you've encountered.
I mean, going back to our analytics real quick, maybe this is what they mean. So for example, if we go to our real-time views, YouTube will show you like what is getting views right now. We click 60 minutes. So to this what we're watching right now is obviously getting the most views because it's live right now. But then under that is an ad we're running, and then how long it takes for YouTube to pay you. That's a short. And then we have a long form video. So shorts and long form videos get mixed up in here, and maybe you're seeing, wow, these numbers look really good, and you scroll down, it's only shorts, and your long form videos aren't performing. That's a result of having like good shorts and needing a totally separate strategy for long form. So treat them like two different audiences is the other bit of advice there, because they are. Does deleting your old, not very well performing video affect the channel by any means? I just did a video where this came up actually.
Okay, well,
I'll tell you what
before
Todd said if you want, but go ahead.
all right, I'm going to try and guess the answer then. So my answer would be not very well performing videos are unlikely to impact the channel because your audience is watching the content that is succeeding on your channel. I think there is a potential for very well performing old videos to affect what you're publishing now, because again, you may be attracting an audience for a type of content you were making years ago, which now doesn't relate to the content you make today, and that's harming what you make today. So that's, I think, has more of an influence on not very well performing videos. Because if you look at someone like Mr. Beast's channel, the largest content creator on the platform, he's left all of his old content there. And yeah, I think now those videos do have tens of thousands of views because it's just such a huge fan base. People are going through his legacy content because they're curious about it. But all of that content is still performing dreadfully versus the stuff he publishes now. And I don't think it really makes any difference if you look at his numbers. Was I right, Dan?
Todd, I think I agree with you. I'll say that. But Todd Beaupre, who works at YouTube, we did a video recently where we go over a lot of the advice he gives creators from the perspective of someone who understands the algorithm and behind the scenes. And he basically outright says, don't delete videos. And the reason he said that was because the way it seems to work, as we understand it, as he explains it, is that if someone finds a video from you and they enter your recommendation system, right? So they're going to get recommended your content. What that does, it's like a big web, right? And you watching these different channels and stuff like that, you are creating like this web, and it helps YouTube's algorithms understand what videos to recommend directly to you specifically. If a creator deletes a video, they're taking a chunk of that web out.
Okay.
And it makes it more difficult for the YouTube system to understand, wait a minute, who's this channel catering to? Where should this video go? Because it's basically like just taking this web that's been built over time. Like if you go up to a spider web, take tweezers and like pull out the middle of it, it's going to fall apart. That's kind of how he described it. I'm grossly I'm grossly adding like words to his mouth here. So I made a video about this. I would go watch it. So you can hear it straight from him. But that is kind of what I took away from it. It's like, really be careful about deleting videos. At best, I think you should be unlisting videos. So at least it like protects some of that data. But yes, that's kind of what Todd alluded to, who again works at YouTube. I'm trying to find the thumbnail for that video so I could show you which one to watch. But we tested a few different thumbnails and now I'm forgetting which one. Do you remember which one? It was my most recent video.
No clue.
Expert reveals why small channels don't grow. This thumbnail here. Fix this.
Right.
So this video has a lot of different quotes from Todd and things like that. I would highly recommend this if you're interested in this type of stuff. And then one more question here. Does it hurt the channel if I have multiple niches and tests? I have long form travel content, but I experiment with shorts during doing unboxing tech and gain more traction.
I think there's still a big debate over how connected audiences are between those two platforms of longs and shorts. But I'm reluctant to use the word hurt. More, it's diluting the focus of the content to a particular audience. So if it was me thinking very long term that, hey, my unboxing shorts could turn out to be really successful, and I need to really brand that channel and have a very distinct identity, that should have its own channel. And then I don't know, if the shorts unboxing tech is gaining more traction, I would probably lean towards transforming that channel into that brand and that focus, and then taking my travel content elsewhere onto a new channel that specifically tailors towards that audience. But then you've got the challenge of trying to run two channels, and that's always going to be a heavy lift.
Yeah. Earlier, someone asked if how their long form, they were talking about how their long form algorithm was hurt because they made shorts. This could be how that happens, where YouTube will recommend, if you watch enough of someone's shorts, they will recommend the long form content of that creator to the person. and now your recommendations are going out to people who have no intention of clicking. And so, yeah, that's a worry. I would, if you're not sure, looking at your analytics, if you're not sure, you could keep going that direction. Maybe the tech you're unboxing is related to travel, and maybe that's a good symbiosis too. So you're unboxing maybe RV equipment, and you travel in an RV. That feels like a good like tie-in. But if you're unboxing phones and it has nothing to do with your travel and your journeys that you go on, then that could be confusing. So even though it feels like the shorts algorithm is a totally different thing, it's good to try to make everything kind of match on one channel. And then what analytics do sponsors typically focus on? Great question. I would definitely do more research on this, because this is not, there's like a lot of people who focus on this specifically, this field of YouTube education. But it's kind of all of it. A savvy sponsor knows not to just look at subscriber count. They want to see high view counts, and they want to see them on recent videos, and they want to see many in a row. So it's not just a flash in the pan. Like a savvy sponsor knows what to look for. They may even request backend analytics. They want audience demographics from you, things like that. And then I've even heard from networks that get sponsors for creators directly from them. I've heard that if you have an Instagram account, for example, and it's attached to your YouTube channel, maybe don't attach it to your YouTube channel if it's nowhere near impressive enough. So a sponsor will look, if you link a Discord or an Instagram on your homepage and they're really investigating you, they will go to your Instagram and say, well, how active are you outside of YouTube? Because they're wanting to know if you can build a community of people who really, really trust you and they follow you no matter where you go. And if you have an Instagram and you're saying, look, come to my Instagram, and no one's there, that doesn't look like you're building a really, like you are, this is why the term influencer exists. Are you influencing people to follow you? Because if you can't even do that, how are you going to influence them to buy the product that the sponsor wants to sell?
Yeah, I think that's a real secret, isn't it? Numbers will tell you one thing, but how engaged, loyal your audience is in terms of how much they trust you as the creator, and how much they're willing to be influenced by you, the creator, to make a decision on purchasing a product. So I think if numbers are always going to be a benchmark, but if you can find comments within your community that tell a sponsor that, wow, your advice was so helpful, I bought this thing based on your advice, it changed my life. If you can find those types of comments, then that's going to be a real big sell. It may help like convince the sponsor that, you know, subscribers and view counts are everything, because I know I can get 200 of my core audience to purchase a product from you. Give me a shot and I'll show you how it's done.
They might even look at your memberships too. You could show them how many paying members you have. So yeah, if you've influenced purchases in the past, they would ask for that. But it depends, sponsor to sponsor, day to day, person to person. So there's no one answer here. But from the limited amount of knowledge I have on the subject, it's whatever is most relevant, and it depends on their campaign goals and stuff like that. And that's why I say maybe do some research too, and hear from some other experts that talk about this all the time. So with that, Rob, we've covered it.
All analytics done.
Yes, all of them, every single one.
Maybe, not really. We'll see you again next week.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching. We will be back. I believe we have a thumbnail stream tomorrow. So if you're looking to see some channels and see what they can do to improve their thumbnails, their click-through rate, things like that, John's got you covered tomorrow. And we'll be doing this stream again next week.
We will, potentially, with new streaming software. I need to talk to you, Dan, about this after this stream. So
awesome.
Let's check out.
Goodbye.
Bye. Awkward wave, because we can't do the outro music either.